Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really immersing ourselves in just one powerful piece of source material. It's excerpts from The Unconquerable Heart Conquered by Love. And our mission, really, for this dive is to unpack this, short but pretty compelling text. We're exploring how love can, surprisingly and profoundly transform even people who think they're just unbreakable. The title itself kind of gives you that intriguing hint, doesn't it? So the author kicks things off by painting this picture, right, of a life where they felt completely immune to adversity. They actually write, "Many battles I fought with my life, depression, pressure, and society could not bring me to my knees." I mean, just think about that conviction for a second. And they use these vivid metaphors for resilience, saying, "I was still like a pond, firm like a tree, stable like a horse." And their belief, it's just crystal clear. Nobody could shake me was what I thought all my life. It really sets the stage, someone feeling utterly secure, unyielding.
It really does. It's a fascinating opening, this whole portrait of being unconquerable against, external stuff. We often build these kinds of fortresses, don't we, against the world, depression, pressures, life's challenges. But as humans, we sometimes confuse that external strength with complete immunity to any change. And this passage, it makes you wonder what kind of internal force, what shift from within could possibly challenge that kind of deeply held self-perception.
Yeah.
It points to that universal truth, I think, that while we can be incredibly strong against outward pressures, real transformation often comes from these unexpected internal shifts.
Absolutely. And that's exactly where the narrative takes this, dramatic turn. This pivotal moment arrives, and it's the undeniable force of love. The author describes it with such vivid language, it's amazing. There erupted a volcano of love, sweeping away everything in its way, not realizing an innocent me would be on the way. A volcano. I mean, it's such a powerful, unstoppable image. Completely flips that previous self-view of being still like a pond, firm like a tree. It's not gentle, is it? It's an explosion, a force of nature.
And that phrase, not realizing, that's really crucial, I think. When a profound emotional force like this just erupts, it often catches us totally by surprise, precisely because we just don't anticipate the level of, vulnerability it requires. The text mentions that the power of love could shiver even the strongest, which isn't about weakness, right?
Okay.
It's more about the inherent nature of deep emotional connection. Unlike external pressures you can kind of fight head on, love often works by dissolving the very foundations you thought were solid, immovable.
Yeah.
It's just a different kind of power altogether.
And what's also really fascinating here is that the author even brings in Shakespeare, quotes him directly. "Love goes by haps, some Cupid kills with arrows, and few with traps." So if you're someone feeling unbreakable, like the author was, what does this specific quote suggest about how this overwhelming love might have taken hold?
That Shakespeare quote, it beautifully underscores love's, unpredictable methods, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
It's not always a direct assault, like Cupid's arrow just striking you down. Sometimes, like the quote says, love works through these subtle traps.
Traps. Interesting.
Yeah, it might be this gradual, almost imperceptible drawing in, a sort of gentle envelopment rather than a direct fight. And for someone used to battling obvious challenges, these traps can be particularly disarming.
Because you don't see them coming in the same way.
Exactly. It highlights how love affects people in such varied, often unexpected ways, makes it much harder to resist because it's not an obvious enemy you can square up to. You aren't meeting a force head on. You're sort of gradually surrounded by it.
Okay, so with this volcano of love erupting and maybe sensing these traps, the author describes their initial reaction. They say, "I fought the volcano of love, not realizing its power." It's that word fought again, isn't it? Trying to cling to the old self, resist this overwhelming tide.
Well, that initial resistance is just such a natural human response, isn't it? Especially for someone who prides themselves on being unshakable.
Sure.
To fight against an emotional current that powerful, it means you haven't yet grasped its true scale, its magnitude. We often think strength means resisting, battling, staying independent.
Right, holding your ground.
Yeah, but sometimes profound transformation and maybe even a deeper kind of strength actually requires a surrender, not a continued struggle. You just can't outmuscle a force that's reshaping you from the inside out, trying to it just prolongs the inevitable reorientation.
Right, you can't fight a tide forever. And so the narrative wraps up with this incredible outcome, the ultimate surrender, the transformation. The author ends with this really impactful phrase, only to be swept away to the deeper core of the jungles of care, compassion, and love.
And what's truly illuminating there, I think, is that being swept away isn't framed as defeat, not at all.
No, it doesn't feel like losing.
No, it feels like a profound reorientation, a deeper immersion into a whole new way of being. And that imagery, jungles of care, compassion, and love, it's so rich.
It is.
It suggests this new internal landscape that's not, barren or diminished. Quite the opposite. It's complex, vibrant, teeming with life, maybe even a bit wild and untamed, but in a beautiful way.
Like an ecosystem, not just a still pond.
Exactly. This deep dive really shows us how something initially defined by being unconquerable can find new depth, new meaning, and a very different kind of strength. Not by staying rigid, but by embracing this unexpected, powerful force of love. It's that shift you mentioned from a controlled, stable pond to a rich, evolving ecosystem.
What an incredible journey described here. From someone convinced they were an unshakable pond or a firm tree, to being swept away by a volcano into these, quote, jungles of care, compassion, and love. This dive into the unconquerable heart conquered by love really gives us such a fascinating, intimate look at that profound, transformative power of love. How it's capable of moving even the most, resilient people from that state of unwavering strength into something new. This rich emotional landscape.
It absolutely does. And, this whole journey raises a really interesting question for you, the listener, to maybe consider. If even an unconquerable heart can be swept away into these jungles of care, compassion, and love, then what unexpected forces might be waiting out there to transform parts of your own life? Parts that you currently believe are just unchangeable.
That's a wonderful thought to leave everyone with. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We really hope it's offered you some fresh perspectives to reflect on.